Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thank you for joining. Let's take like 2 more minutes to give the chance to other participants to join. Before we start, this webinar will take around 40-45 minutes. I will leave a few minutes towards the end for Q&A, so feel free to add your questions during this webinar via the Q&A board that you have. Have it in the chat, of course, and I will definitely relate to it. If we don't have the time, I will make sure to return to you with every question that you had. And of course, you are welcome to approach me via LinkedIn or via the email that you'll see at the end of this session. So thank you for joining. We will take 1 more minute and then we shall start. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining. For the new ones that has, what is it? But nobody really can articulate how it will impact us on the midterm and then on the long term. So this is my vision. So when we talk about, for example, automation advancements, right? Automation. There is an anticipation bubbling in the tech community. And we're looking at a future where generative AI is expected to cause a revolution in automation, especially within data organizations. Imagine a world where those annoying, repetitive tasks, be it data governance, health checks, or quality assurance, are tackled effortlessly. This won't just be a benefit for our dedicated data teams. This wave will change and will benefit everyone interacting with data. Result, more streamlined processes and a rock-solid data integrity. Now, any transitions comes with its set of challenges, right? And the move to multimodal generative AI is no exception. When I'm saying multimodal, I'm saying that there is that robot that answers you, right? Writes, speaks, hears, and sees. This is the meaning of multimodal. So security concerns and adhering to regulation standards will undoubtedly pose initial hurdles. This is my assumption, but as history has taught us, with understanding innovation, we will navigate these challenges. As we do, this immense potential of this technology will unfold, paving the way for automated and more efficient data processes. Multimodal capabilities promises to usher in new ways for us to interact with data and interpret enterprise data. I was speaking the other day with one of our customers, and we started to discuss together that applications of live data maps are nice. The point is, the live data map will become eventually a backup to the way that I interact with the system. I can actually ask, what do you see? What would be the downstream impact of this cross-system lineage if I'm picking that object? It's not about filters and developing configurations of heavy faceted search anymore. It's about how do you interact with the system. It will tell you a story. It will help you to research on it, right? And this is, for me, about efficiency. So speaking of efficiency, by optimizing enterprise processes and shifting away from manual routine data tasks, we're not just easing the workload. We are allowing our human resources to channel their energies towards strategic and innovative initiative. This means extracting even more value from our teams and from our data assets. I know that most of us are professionals that know how to, for example, maybe fix a store procedure. And this would be a very basic one, but I know you know how to do it. I know that you'll drop everything that you solve that ticket coming from your CEO that some report is not working. But the issue is how much time you are wasting on trying to identify this by yourself. What about someone else doing this part in an automatic way, fixing something, and you are being released and being more productive to focus on strategic projects so your company will get that business edge. So this is the midterm impact. If we're moving to the long-term impact, and I'm saying three years, 5 years, maybe beyond, let's say that horizon will bring us several transformative trends into focus. For example, progression towards autonomous data management seems inevitable. We're talking about a world where advanced Gen AI brimming with self-curating and proactive features steer the ship, a self-driving approach, if you will, potentially offering dynamic, real-time data insights with minimal human intervention. It sounds about right, Tesla. Tesla is there already. We should have it for our data landscapes, right? And then there is exciting realm of human-centric data interaction. The future beacons a shift from clunky traditional interfaces, like I just mentioned, to more intuitive, natural conversation-led engagements. Accessing and interpreting data is set to become a far more user-friendly experience. And moving on now from Tesla, the concept of a self-orchestrating data ecosystem is equally thrilling. With generative AI at the helm, data could autonomously adjust and optimize according to real-time needs. And let's not forget about visual data comprehension. We have today Midjourney in DALL-E. It's not just for fun, just create a picture. It's more than that, right? We see it coming. As AI's grasp on visual data becomes more powerful, it's being strengthened as we speak. We're looking at a richer understanding of visual information, eliminating the need for human-led interpretation. Sometimes you are biased about it. Sometimes you're looking not at the right direction. What about that, let's say, pilot, co-pilot, like saying, look at this anomaly. You just missed it. And look at it in a way that you can see even circles connected, how you can see it if you have dozens of them, hundreds of them. Imagine a cross-system data lineage flow. If you have hundreds of moving parts, how can you even focus on some specific issue that you see or not if you don't have someone to help you with it, right? And let's not talk about filters again. This is not something to solve with AI. AI should actually help you to interpret what you see. However, with great power comes great responsibility. I know that sounds like a cliche, but we integrate generative AI as we integrate it deeper into our enterprise operations. The duty is on us to ensure a robust, ethical, and regulatory framework. Our focus should remain steadfast on security, especially concerning PII, personal identifiable information, and data privacy. It's not just about adhering to existing regulations, it's about being prepared for what's next, ensuring that we use this advanced system responsibly in our complex data landscapes. Moving on to data FinOps. What is data FinOps? It's basically how we efficiently and cost efficiently are managing our data landscapes. And one of the most, let's say, intriguing parts are, can we embrace Gen AI to impact that data FinOps equation, which is typically an equation that we are trying to be effective, but we don't know from where to begin. So there is a direct connection between the health of our data and cost reduction, right? So by ensuring that our data remain clean, accurate, and always ready for use, always be ready to monetize on it, especially now with Gen AI, we're setting the stage to minimize unnecessary expenses that boost our business and operational efficiency. So there are several points, but cost reduction and data health are intertwined. So by enhancing data health will directly contribute to cost reduction by ensuring that the data is clean and readily available. This approach minimizes unnecessary expenditures that improve overall operational efficiency. Reducing the technical debt can be enabled by Gen AI. How many times you have like a migration project or a transformation project, or you need to decommission something and you struggle, which would be the right direction? Should I lift and shift? Should I take a selective approach, prioritizing the most important critical business processes? Should I clean it first, because then I move to cloud, then it will cost me a lot, right? So there is always that debate, and Gen AI could help you to proactively, let's say, have it cleansing projects, resulting in a more streamlined and efficient infrastructure. So my belief is that Gen AI will serve as a valuable tool to empower data teams, enabling you to be more productive and focused on strategic tasks for business. I often hear that from our customers and our community, that the holy grail would be, can I only, or at least 80% of our time, be focused on the fun project, the modernization of our infrastructure, the strategic projects, instead of fixing a ticket, right? How many times you think about it? So it's about different strategies. This approach does not aim to cut jobs, but rather to enhance the capabilities of data professionals being more productive and happy about it. And that brings me to a shift to self-service, right? Another whole grail, right? Self-service for business users. We have a small data team, and we like that the business users will be capable to fix and their own problems and create their own data sets and tables and their reports. So it's about, I think the basic one would be trust. Trusting them, trusting the data, trusting us. So Gen AI will increase, at least I believe, will increase trust where business user can become more self-sufficient in accessing and utilizing data, reducing their dependency on data teams for routine tasks. So bottom line, integrating generative AI into resource optimization efforts, the objective is to improve data health, empowering data teams, and facilitate self-service for business users. It's just doing that without displacing jobs, us being more productive, us doing more. And from here, again, there is some kind of back of our minds how we can reduce the risks. There are some risks, right? If you embrace it. And you need to do this, and you need to harness it at full potential while you ensure security, accuracy, and responsible use. So we'll start with the basic regulations and security. You need to ensure strict adherence to data privacy regulations and implement robust security measurement. This is basic, right? But there is another level of regular security audits and compliance that are becoming more essentials. For example, how the model is being trained. Is our prompts and answers going out of our environment? How we can prevent that? And moving forward, we need to have a stable way to trust the generative AI models. How to do that? How we are accurate and consistent. So we need to invest in fine-tuning it for specific use cases. It cannot be a ChatGPT. There is no such thing, ChatGPT for enterprises, and just take it and that's it. You need to craft it for specific use cases. Why? Because you need to increase the accuracy and consistency of responses. You need to implement validation checks to verify the correctness of AI-generated insights. But beforehand, even it's a more basic thing, education and training. How do you embrace it. So you need to develop educational materials and training programs to inform your organization about Gen AI capabilities and their positive impact. This includes addressing sometimes any irrational fears and misconceptions. This will take my job. What should I do all day? It will be a threat security-wise. So you need to be educated in order to create an actual concern that can be mitigated. And again, it should start with a balanced adoption and a balanced automation. Promote a balanced approach to automation, emphasizing that this is augmenting its complementary role of generative AI alongside human expertise. Encourage human oversight in critical decision-making processes. So by addressing this risk and implementing mitigation strategies, you will be ready to harness the Gen AI whilst ensuring security and sometimes dealing with irrational fears. So without further ado, we will introduce in a few minutes an example of how we implemented generative AI for our customers. It's called Octomize. It's just a mash of two words, Octopi and Octomize, automation. It's basically a AI agent for data teams that supports data teams in real time. The mindset was to realize quantifiable savings. If you remember what I said a few minutes ago, is about balancing automation with more strategic tasks that your team has. And the emphasis is on speed, accuracy, and saving costs. Our customers are reacting in such a positive way to it because all the, let's say, risk and irrational fears are being dealt with. So we took a very basic approach of, let's say, daily tasks that we can help. And that means we can liberate some of the resources or at least some of the capacity that they have for something that they know they can do. You can fix an error in a SQL query, right? You can fix a store procedure. Do you have time to optimize a store procedure? Sometimes it's, oh, we'll do it later. But sometimes long processes of a store procedure or query would be, in terms of the cost that you have, something that is even more strategic for you if you want to move, for example, to the cloud. And speaking about that, how you transition, you need to learn about it, you need to have some best practices, and you need to document. You need to document what has changed. And sometimes you need to document for technical users and sometimes for business users. And we know how fun it is for a data developer or an engineer or an architect to write long documents for business users. And I'm being sarcastic about it. So let's see in action. Okay, give me a second to see if I'm sharing the right thing. Just a second. Okay. Okay. So this is one of the modules that we have in our Octopi solution. It's basically, let's say, a mix of visuals and answers. Remember, starting with multimodal capabilities and real time, and something that helps you on a daily basis. So I have an example here of a query that it's created by me on purpose to be a short one, just to give you an example. But this query is complicated enough just to show you the point. So first of all, magic, I want to see. I want to see this query by understanding the source, the data source, transformations, and targets. So we have this in place, and you can see it. Okay, it's a bit complicated. What about trying to optimize it a bit? How much time it will take me to understand how to optimize it? If I have a wizard, someone called Octomize to help me with, it will be a blast. So let's try this. Let's optimize it. And it starts streaming. The most important point for us, and you can take this as an example, was not just to create a conversation from day one. Remember the irrational thoughts and the way that we conversate, it takes a time to specify exactly what you need, right? Sometimes it's a long conversation, sometimes it's even wasting your time. So the approach that we took here is to ensure that we are, let's say, converting the Gen AI into an actionable one-click point that is accurate and provides you an automation of that action without going into negotiating, oh, I need this and I need this. Okay, so it's streaming, it's enough for me just to read, right? It's speaking to me, and it has a stable structure. That means if I will wait, for example, starting with the end, it's very important, for example, to address how the changes are applied to a fixed grade. So we're starting with specific suggestions. I'm getting explanations, for example, that look at this. I'm using a combination of select top and another function together is known for being a performance killer. Okay, it causes the SQL Server to generate a new GUID for every row and store the entire result set. This is crazy, right? Okay, I know that you know how to fix it. I know that you say it. Problem is the time. So I have the fixed script, and I have also the changes applied that will help you to self-document the changes, right? Because we know that next guy or the next lady that will deal with it would like to understand what was changed in order to blame the person that has changed it. We need someone to blame. So we have this here, and it's basically fixed, right? Let's try another game. Let's actually damage it. Okay. So first of all, you get, okay, an error for the data lineage perspective. We are creating data lineage in real time. Okay, what's the problem? Instead of, no, and this is just 15 lines. Imagine that you have 150. What do? So again, going back to the Octomize friend, and I'm asking for help to fix the error. So first of all, it's something that is identified immediately, and not only that problem provides me with more suggestions to fix. For example, there is a problem in using CTE that is not necessary, right? Even something that's redundant. I'm getting also the corrected version. Sometimes if it's a long store procedure, it will not repeat itself. We'll just take the portions that should be fixed. And as we saw before, it's very important to document the applied changes. So it's stating exactly what was changed. Okay, and look at this. It's not just fixing the problem, it's fixing the entire script. I'll just take it here for you to see it. And let's see the data lineage is created. Looks great. And then what else? Remember that, let's say, annoying thing, right? Annoying thing meaning someone from my team, the manager, someone from governance are required to provide the documentation of a component that contains a script. I have another customer saying I have 300 reports based on queries. I need to create for it the technical documentation and the business documentation. I need to do this one by one. What about applying generative AI in that sense that creates a structured way to, let's say, serve a larger audience, an audience that is interested to understand the business interpretation, the insights, and also the audience that is more a technical one. So let's see together how it's being implemented. You have an overview. You have the key points of interest for the business, which include which products are being sold at a discount, for example, the average order amount since 2020. It's limiting to products supplied for US. And then you get also something that, again, moving to the data governance teams will be very happy to get it, because this sections will be included into a data catalog. And you have also resulting insights. What can you do? Analysts can explore customers' purchasing behavior, identify popular product categories, and so forth. So this is another way to, let's say, automate an annoying task on one hand. On the other, it could leverage the way that you govern your data landscape in a more structured way. No such thing that you create something without documentation. Suddenly you have this available now, integrated within your Confluence or another knowledge management or a data catalog. Point is that this is being a repetitive task that can be automated. So think about your use cases. Do you have repetitive tasks? Think how Gen AI can run this for you. This is true automation, and guess what? No code required. It's just simple English language. We just need to think about it like a code language instead of English. It's a paradox, but it is what it is. English became the #1 coding language today. Let's take another example of migrating, right? So we saw together how to fix it. We saw how to interpret it. But before you migrate something, maybe you need to optimize it, right? We did that. Let's move to the migration. If, for example, I need to migrate this SQL query to Google BigQuery, how would it look like? It wouldn't work. There are big differences, even syntax differences between them. So again, moving back to Octomize, let's seek for help. And I want again to move to Google BigQuery. Let's see how it works. The point was that we need to think about people in that terms of juniors and newbies into the team, or someone that is not savvy into how to migrate a query to Google BigQuery, for example. So we start with best practices, teaching, and key differences. What are the differences between SQL Server and BigQuery, for example, and something that wasn't changed yet, what they are using together and what not. And we also provide you with a way to automate the migration by converting the script into a Google BigQuery script. There is a disclaimer here always. Sometimes you can't just, migrate it and convert it automatically. You need sometimes some more data points in order to do it. Same for optimization, but it gives you 80-20, the speed and the time to do it faster and learn from it. Okay, so you have this. Now let's take this transformed query. Let's see how the live lineage deals with it. Voila. Okay, so this is how you understand with Google BigQuery Live Lineage the sources, data sources, transformations, and targets. Now I want to provide you another example, because this is just a simple script. I have another example of a heavy store procedure, behavior 1, and I think a store procedure is even harder to write a documentation for it. And this is just an example of how it looks like. It's a very complicated one. Imagine you creating documentation for governance for it, or imagine how you will optimize it and so forth. Imagine you fixing it. it will take some time. I'm sure you know how to do it, but time is essence. So if I'm moving again to the way to interpret the store procedure for, let's say, a business unit, you remember the store service holy grail? So where do you start? You have the store procedure purpose. The procedure is primarily used to aggregate details about each colleague, such as their identifying information, employment history, and so forth. You have also the data sources, it's very important, and you have the calculations transformation within the store procedures. Even flags that are set to indicate if a person is a new or upcoming starter, leaver, or so forth. It's actually like a, let's say, audiobook for, let's say, lazy people that don't want to read. And I'm saying this, and I'm laughing about it because one of the customers saying to me, "Oh, are you kidding me? I was waiting for it," and so, because we're lazy. And so it's not because you're lazy, because sometimes you are overloaded with so many tasks to do it in parallels, and sometimes you're losing focus. Sometimes you'll do a lousy job. But remember the augmentation. This is augmenting you to do a better and a more productive job. It's not about delivering on time, on budget, and timeline, and on quality anymore. It's about being productive much more than before. And one of the things that, for example, here, it's even saying to you, this store procedure offers a way to monitor and analyze workforce dynamics by summarizing key metrics related to employee demographics. And it can answer questions like, it's even driving you to ask the right questions against the store procedure. What is the age distribution of our workforce? How long do our employees typically stay within our organization? Again, it's not thinking instead, it's just giving you an idea. It guides you to focus on the right things. So this is just a live example of Octomize with live lineage. If you're interested to see a full demo, and going back to what, just to give you a hint of what I said about multimodality, one of the things that we are testing right now is to understand if I can, for example, have this, and this is just a demo environment. Typically, we see from our customers overwhelming environments, and you need some time to research on it. So instead of trying to research the path, and we have very nice user experience here, but what about conversating and ask the question, what do you see, right? Can you provide me the downstream impact of changing this table? Okay, so it's just one here, but imagine they have hundreds of them. So imagine that. This is something that should come soon. This is something that I'm very passionate about it. So going back to what I said before, we have some time for questions. So I will stop sharing my screen. Okay, and we'll take some questions. Okay. Okay, so we have 2 questions so far. So I encourage you to ask more. One of the questions is related to which model we have implemented. Right. The ones that are more savvy about it, there is a basic one. It's called GPT Turbo 3.5. Then you have the GPT-4. We took the more advanced one. If you think about how to integrate, then I strongly advise you to take the latest one. It's more expensive. But if you remember what I talked about when I talked about accuracy and stability and trust, I would strongly recommend you to go with the GPT-4. And the way to make sure that it's really useful for you is to tune it to your environment, to your let's say, use cases, through your KPIs. For example, prompting, asking the right questions. Remember that the waste time that you have when you start conversating back and forth, and after 30 minutes, okay, fine, I will do it by myself, or fine, finally I got the answer after 30 minutes. The point is how you tackle it and get answers right away, because the leading thought is automation. So GPT-4 has the resilience and the accuracy and stability to work with, and it's very, let's say, tunable in that way. And the secret sauce is to have a good prompt engineer in your company. If you don't have one, I strongly advise you to have one of your guys or ladies in the data teams or governance team and whatever teams you have to be trained on it, because crafting a prompt became art. It takes a long time to understand how to build it right, to get that steady pace. And the other secret sauce is to have it tuned to your domain expertise, to your use cases, to your business, and tune it in terms of the temperature, creativity. It has lots of configuration params there, but you don't want to have something, big project running. We have implemented generative AI to leverage our business data. Finally, that big data can be monetized on. Let's now create models and have our machine learning teams and data scientists work on it. And if you have that foundation built in an incorrect way, then it won't work. And if the Gen AI that you have implemented is not part of your use cases, you don't tune it to it, then it'll give you sometimes generic, sometimes unstable answers. Let's see, another answer is, how do you see the use of, AI to help this data security? So let's start with a basic one. When I integrated Gen AI into my product, I struggled with identify what would be the best approach. I took the final way was for us to go into what we have as an environment, because you can go to OpenAI Enterprise, or for example, Microsoft. We are a Microsoft Azure shop. Microsoft has the best, I believe, maybe I'm biased here, but the best way to approach it is to request a service that it's called Azure OpenAI. And the main concern of ours was security, because it's not just my database. We have customers, right? And we deal with data management. We deal with only metadata management, but data is a very sensitive thing. So one of the things that we made sure that we are secured within our environment. We are not providing our customers' data as a training model for Microsoft, so you can actually control it. It's very important. And moving to the specific questions of AI to help with data security. Let's say one of the things that I would like to implement in the product, I hope that I'm answering the question, is an automatic way to identify sensitive data flow, right? So imagine one of the difficulties that they have today is if you have a sensitive asset, and that asset is being propagated and being transformed and being taken within a larger data flow that it's starting to be spread around. How do you manage that, right? So I think that the AI here could be very immensely valuable by training the model on patterns of PII or credit cards or other sensitive data, and to help you to classify in an automatic way, tagging and classification of sensitive data. This would be first. Second, AI for example, cyber. It's not my domain, by the way. I'm more in data management. But I would assume that if I'm taking this in a very conservative approach, one of the biggest fears, rational fears, is if I'm implementing AI, if I'm taking an external service, maybe my customers' data will be leaking. How can I control it? It goes back to the same irrational fears of, oh, I don't want to move to cloud. I'm staying on-prem. It's the same fear. So Amazon, AWS is doing a better job than us, right? We saw that over the time, the hacks were not on an AWS, was on-prem, let's say, private clouds of ours within our premises, right? So maybe I'm wrong about it, but I think using, for example, Microsoft Azure OpenAI will be the safest way. And they have, if you're interested, for example, they have the best way to securely provide AI. And again, cybersecurity is not my domain. I know that there are many startups out there using AI for automating, let's say, sensitive data. Great. So there are more questions. I'll be happy to take them. Just to wrap this up, Octopi, in that sense of, speaking about it and doing about it, we actually are doing it. So it's integrated. We have a great example of how Gen AI could help our customers, and the future is bright. I'm pretty sure that this is not the first webinar in that sense, and we'll have many more examples for you. I hope that you will reach out to me. Again, my name is Zinat Ezra from Octopi. Reach out to me via LinkedIn and subscribe to our page, and then you'll know about the next webinars in line. So thank you very much for your time, and have a nice day, evening, and the rest of the week. Thank you.